On your iPad.
Audio on. Okay. So if we can just start our workshop today. Faye, if we can get you to please, just for recording purposes, to give us a summary of the report that you presented for this workshop.
Well, the report is just outlining that there is a submission opportunity available to the board. The council has decided to consult the public, asking for feedback on possible options around retention or otherwise of the Litchfield Street car park. So online, the consultation presents two options. One is to retain the car park, but to change the operating model. That's to retain it in council ownership. The second option is to sell the asset and use funds elsewhere. So that's in essence the two options that the council is putting forward and are asking for feedback on.
And I asked the question.
Wait, Helen. So we've got that, and then we will go around the table.
I've got a question right too, rather than a comment.
All right. No, because Debbie was the one who asked for this, and we'll probably hear from Debbie first.
It's fine.
And then we'll ask the questions. And
Okay.
You want your.
Yep.
Oh, you want me to kick off?
Yes.
Sorry, I thought you were waiting for something from Helen.
So we'll have you kick off, and then we'll
Yeah,
have
okay.
questions from Helen.
Yeah, thanks for that, Marie. Well, I'm presuming everybody here has read the consultation document and also listened to the council meeting, which you can also watch online, which is about half an hour, which is interesting and probably raises similar points that we are concerned about. I'm a little bit concerned that very little information is available in order to give accurate feedback for the councillors to make a decision. And that was also expressed by, the council meeting that you can watch online if you haven't already. And what I'm relating or what I'm relating to there is the fact that retain and change, we haven't got information about what is the cost involved if we keep it, and all the factors included in that, whether it's maintenance, whether it's money that we get per year, considering what expenses we have to outlay, etc., in regards to retaining or perhaps changing it. The other alternative is, do we sell it? Well, we were told we aren't privy to the PX information pertaining to any sale and what that value might be. So therefore, how can we, even as a board, give accurate information about what we might consider in regards to selling it? However, going forward, I'm just wondering whether or not, and we can work this out later, but when I say selling it, we don't have figures about what that sum of money would be and where does the council intend to apply that money, because that's a factor that many people would want to know, putting in a submission of feedback, because they would want to know, well, if they were wanting to sell it, they want to be assured that they know why they're recommending to sell it. Does the council want to use, say, for instance, the sum was 50 million, for example. Would we use the money for ongoing things around the community, or would we pay it off in debt? And if that's the case, then, you know, it's an opportunity if they outlined that within the submission. If they were even asking that question, where would you like the debt to go if we did sell it? Would you like it to go on debt recovery, or would you like it to go further out in the community? However, I'm hoping that perhaps people will work that out and advise that if they are going to sell it, then perhaps put their preference about where that money is. It also doesn't say within the document, if they were to sell it, how much are we saving by selling it? If it was to go on to debt, how much are we saving from interest and debt recovery? Because that's all relative to any advice to give to council. A proper, in my opinion, just my personal opinion, it doesn't appear that a proper business analysis has been done on this. I've done business analysis some years ago. I wouldn't be confident in doing it now. However, there are so many factors, and you have to weigh up whether to retain or sell. What are the advantages and disadvantages? It's not just a short thing like this. It's about 20 pages of advantages and about 20 pages of why you'd sell, and all the factors incurring. Would it be more cost effective to sell it, or is it more cost effective to retain it? And weigh up everything pertaining to that outcome of retaining it, and weigh up everything in regards to selling it. So I do have a concern that there's not enough information out there for a proper, accurate feedback for people to give. To me, it's a bit like asking a jury to make a decision without all the information. They've been given partial information. So that's where I sit, and I believe that we perhaps need to express that a little bit, that there's not enough information to give accurate feedback. However, you know, after a round the table discussion, we can perhaps put, if it was to sell, what we would like it to go on.
Right. Thank you, Debbie. Did you want to respond?
Oh, I was just going to point out that on the consultation page, there is a paragraph on current financial performance that indicates that it's currently producing 1.5 million
That's right.
per year.
That's right.
Which is 3%.
Yeah, but it's not a proper business analysis.
Well,
That's just talking about the performance.
yeah, but
So
that's why the council is looking at it.
So that's in regards to retaining it and how much you're receiving, but what's the alternative if we sell it? So we need to have a comparable. So
submitters
Yes.
probably aren't being asked to make the decision.
Yeah.
That's a decision for council as to whether it stacks up. I think they're just looking for a feedback as to whether people have general concerns around retention or general concerns around sale.
yeah, but they need
Before we move on, I think Helen has a
I
question.
had a question I put through yesterday. Did you check on the zoning?
It's in the report, Helen.
I didn't get it. I got
City centre zone.
I got city centre zoning, so it's the same as Ballantyne's thing. So I'm very strongly on retention. I'll go through the reasons why. The 3% is quite a good return. When I was there, it was break even, and that was fine. If we want to value the central city and encourage it, we do need to have a car park, and it's not showing a shocking return. So I can't. The only reason for sale is, I think, to get the capital value out of it. And my concern is that you then lose a car park that leads people very easily into Ballantyne's and other shops. And if it's raining or bad weather, it's quite good because you can go straight from the car park to Ballantyne's. I happen to shop Central City, so that's where I shop if I shop, and I don't shop a lot anyway. So it seems to be that if we value supporting the central city, which I do, and the previous council did, then we keep the car park I'm happy to have a look at other ways of operating to get the rate, the return higher. But the other thing too is, and that was the question I asked, if it's central city, someone could buy the car park and not have it as a car park.
Well, I'm thinking, so it says online.
That's kind of risky.
That what they're talking about is selling it to an operator of a car
It will
park.
still be a car park.
And they're looking at ways to lock that in via covenants or something like that.
You'd have to do it very carefully.
Yes, I don't know how they would do
Under a
it.
covenant.
Or something like, they're looking at mechanisms.
If you don't do that, but what could happen is you sell it to a person who sign it, and it's signed in, and in 5 years' time, councils change, they want to change it. And so that they said, we'd rather have a 10-story building, which is commercial. So I won't go with this at all, actually. I want to retain it as a car park.
So are
by
you
council.
saying
Yeah,
this
but-
in your personal capacity or for the community?
Well, if it's shared, if not, I'll just do a personal submission. If we find that there's a range of
But
units.
Helen, I hear what you're saying, because I can sit in both camps.
Yeah.
But if they did an analysis, which they haven't done, in regards to if they sold it, how much are they keeping? If you found out that you would be financially better off by selling it, would you not see that as a benefit? And you see, what I'm saying is that hasn't happened yet.
No,
Right, so can
Yes.
I hold you
Yes.
on that for a moment? So consultation is just asking us for feedback.
I know.
The business case analysis, all the details that we are looking for is one for a decision maker. We are not making a decision on this. We are just providing
No, I know.
feedback. So
But it's
we
not-
will have to provide feedback with what information is given to us. And we can say subject to whatever other information is provided to the decision makers, to the council.
Yeah, I
Right.
go back to my concern. I hear what you're saying, and I totally agree with you, Marie.
Yep.
What I'm saying is that how can we ask the public for feedback when there's not that info? Is it going to go for a second round of
Well,
consultation?
the public will make their own feedback. This is our board feedback. If we're going to make a feedback or not.
Yes,
It's up
it depends
to-
on
Yeah,
us.
or are we going to just leave it to the public to provide their feedback? 'Cause,
If any feedback, I would be saying there's not enough information, and I, to be frank, it's unless it goes out for a second round of consultation with all the information,
I don't know, because
yeah, it doesn't
all the
say.
information will be provided to the decision makers. We are
I
not privy to
understand that, but they're asking us for feedback
It's just initial feedback, so
based on nothing.
based on what the options provided.
Well, Helen's
Now-
provided some
I'm
feedback.
Yes.
trying to be strong opinion on one way.
Yes.
So she's to retain, so she's.
Based on
feedback.
3%.
I've got some strong feedback
Yes.
about keeping it.
And for me,
Mhm.
my feedback is to retain also because what do you call that? The stadium is not yet operating. Once
Okay.
it's fully operating, then we will find out what's happening around the city. We
Yes.
will,
Yes, like you part.
And
there
that's
for the
part
sale.
of a business
Yes.
analysis.
so it's too soon
Yeah.
probably to sell it. So for now, we retain it until such time that we have more information about what's happening around the
And that can be
city.
part of our
Yes.
consultation.
And you might need it actually. mightn't
Yes,
you?
exactly.
What would you like?
Howdy,
Yeah.
your turn.
Yeah, thank you. No, they're all good points. And I guess one of the things that I campaigned on was actually retaining our strategic assets. So it's interesting that this was almost like an anchor project when the city was being rebuilt,
Yes.
but it's not considered strategic. I mean, financial return really doesn't reflect the risk. 3% could be obtained with,
That's commercial.
yeah, it could be obtained just by putting the money in the bank, actually, in fact, without taking on any operational costs, any risks, or anything like that. That's really the benchmark that we have to go from. So I think 5% or more is probably fine if you're looking at the numbers alone. However, to Pipe, for example, has brought in a loss, but I don't think anyone's calling to sell off to Pipe, for example, as well. So we have to consider things that are probably more than just financial in this context. At the same time, there is an opportunity cost because that let's say that it did sell for 50 million, and we actually don't know that. It could be less if they put a covenant against it that restricts the potential land uses. Someone who buys it might not intend for it to be used as car park. That's fine. We might actually get more money for it in that case. So we would have to weigh up, if we do sell it with that covenant attached, let's say we could maybe get 60 million, we would actually get 50 million, we'd actually get even less return in selling it with that condition. That's something that we have to think about.
Yes, and there is a covenant, issue around a covenant and something else.
Yep.
And you need to have a stronger clause in there.
Yeah.
I can't recall its name now, but you have to have a really strong clause rather than just a
Yeah.
covenant.
Yeah, so I don't think we'll dwell on that. They've got lawyers for that to work that kind of thing out.
Would you be able to give a position whether to retain or to sell at this point with the information that we have and what we don't have? Just the feedback. Because I think Helen and I are both to retain at this point, because we don't know also what's happening. There's the Parakiore and there's the stadium still not yet fully operational. So we don't know, we might need it. It might be very useful for everybody, but
It could be.
so maybe revisit at
Can
some stage.
finish, please?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there is risk in the future as well. Active transport, public transport, e-mobility, like your scooters, ride share, short-term hire as well. But you must also ask the question, why is Litchfield priced lower than market rates as well, for example? Can't really reconcile that when we're saying it doesn't make enough money, and yet we're not even matching the price that other companies charge.
I hope not.
So,
It's a community facility.
I mean, altogether, this is a bit of a strange question for me because
So there's that.
I need to understand, other than financial, because I don't really think we can tweak that much from that perspective. What benefits as a city do we get from that car park staying under our control? So libraries, for example, they don't bring in any money at all, but we recognise that there is some benefit from us having them. We don't expect the private sector to provide it, but there is private sector car parks. So what is different for us keeping the ownership of this versus having an extra $50 million, which could be used for debt reduction and could be used for rates reduction? I don't know what that number is, but that's the top issue.
And Philip talking about the court fee, unless you're cheering, the court theatre car parks, he's talking about that. But that's, I mean, in my view, what's happened there is a mess with Philip Carter and council. And I don't know if we should.
You're not going to solve every problem.
I don't know if we should be. That's but Phil's talking about some of them in the media.
Yeah, and he's talking about a seawall, and this will pay for 10% of that seawall. So
yeah, but I
need to focus on what's in front of us, which is my question. I want to understand from you, because they've put this consultation out for the whole city, not just for the central board. Because if you really think about it, who uses that car park? It's actually not people in central.
No, it's people
in Riccarton, Hornby and Halswell and beyond. Because for reasons, we have to drive into the central city. So what will change if we sell it?
It would mean that people won't use the central city as much for hospitality or in fact retail.
But that means sell it
You're
now.
assuming that, Helen.
Well, I'm assuming that, but they would have to give us figures, wouldn't they?
But people currently pay more to park in different car parks.
Well, if
This one's cheaper.
but they've always known that this car park was there. So when Philip Carter bought, I think it's the one that you used, built
across from the interchange.
but the other one, he would have built it on the assumption he could make from it commercially.
Didn't we invest into that as well?
Sorry?
Didn't we invest something like 30 million into that one as well?
I don't think so, but don't know.
So
Okay, I could be wrong.
point out that just from the consultation page.
Yep.
The options are option 1, retain and change. So they are saying that council retain ownership of the car park, but change the operating model to improve financial performance. So I think that could be raise the prices.
Yeah, on that option 1, we've had this building constructed since 2017. Only recently has it increased from 60 to 80% occupancy.
And there's still a lot going on.
And it's still not returning much to it.
A lot going on around the city, which is not fully operational yet.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So it's too soon probably
So do you think, so I'm hearing what you're saying, and so So do you think as part of the submission that we could say, we would like to think you lay it on the table until a couple of
Or
years?
retain and change and then revisit
A review
And
and
revisit
Yeah.
once, once.
once
the
everything's
stadium-
fully operational.
Yeah.
Yeah.
24 months probably.
yeah, no.
Get some
No,
events
when-
running inside.
When will it start
Yeah.
being,
Well, I
when is
think-
the Parakiore and
Well,
stadium?
it's 6 months away.
6 months away, yeah.
Yes.
Probably after 2 years.
Or
they
that,
can-
and then
I'd
the
say
and the
2
stadium, so
And yeah, review after 2 years.
the Picchiore's got their own car park.
But still, it will,
The other thing I would say to just bear in mind is we don't have a balanced budget on council. Each year, when they go through the annual plan and they set the rates and so forth, we take out more and more borrow. We put 50 million bucks onto the debt, which is over $1 billion. I think it's
Of course.
closing in on 2 billion.
That's my point.
It's not a lot. It would be great to bring rates down. Everyone can agree on that, I think. But at that point, we've actually lost an asset, one of our largest assets.
I know, but it's community use really. I don't think it's ever been seen as a financial investment by council. It probably is now from what they're having a look at. But I think it's community, so they come into the city and it's easy if they wish to. A lot of people won't too. They
So-
fixed on.
Say, what was your last statement?
So debt
Yes.
and the balanced budget. So
Saying that both.
we haven't got there.
It's not gonna have a huge impact on the rates, is it what you're saying?
right, and at this table, we don't have the power to set rates.
No, I know.
So if we say to sell it,
But we could
Then-
suggest that if they're going to sell it, then we want it on debt recovery, or we could.
for example,
Yeah,
but we will
as an
actually
example.
still end up borrowing anyway. So we still won't have a balanced budget. We'll just reduce the amount that we borrow for 1 year.
For 1 year.
Only for 1 year, we borrow a substantial amount. Yeah. So if we, sounds like we're saying retain and change. If that's the case, what would we expect to change? Because something has to change, right? Was
yeah,
the starting point
the
is.
proposal there change the operating model. So that's not up to us. That's
Yeah, but
That's, what
that's
they've-
only an idea, so we can add other suggestions to the retain change, like if you are to retain, what are your ideas of change? Yeah, so,
So
Hi, Joseph.
fixing the price to a market rate, for example, could be one thing that we could do to give
and,
effect to that.
and then if you want to look at sale, so we could give feedback on retaining and change, and we can also give feedback on what sale looks like too. Like if the decision makers decide to sell, this is how we would like it to look like.
right.
I do think that the staff report has considered all of the things which I put in my email, which we've talked about much of them, and the things I've also just raised for the first
Right.
time now. That's all covered in there.
Yeah.
I think what they're actually looking for us to say is which of the two do we prefer? Because ultimately they can't say, oh, well, maybe do both. That's effectively just a pause,
It's just
which we can actually say.
Yeah.
We think that we should pause it for 18 or 24 months if that's what we decide.
Okay,
And-
hang on, I think, yes, welcome, Joseph. We were just going around the table, finding out the views of everyone. If you would like to, contribute your views on this?
All right, yeah. Well, you know, I've got no objection to selling off a business part of a business that's not producing the expected returns. That's perfectly natural. I guess my question would be, because we know that people in our particular areas, Riccarton especially, do feel that they should be able to get into the city, and a lot of people do travel by car. So I think there is some utility in retaining car parking. But also it's a central city location, it's pretty strategic. I think it is actually quite important to be able to retain that into the future, not just as car parking now, but also into the future for car parking for other uses that might be useful for our communities. So my feeling is that while it makes a lot of sense to me to sell off the building and the business, my question would be, why would the land also be sold?
It's covered in the.
Okay, right.
Yeah, so after 10 years, the net present value changes towards a loss if they retain the land.
Right.
But I do tend to agree with you that, again, one of the other things that we were just talking about when we went here was, I mean, we operate libraries, we don't expect them to return anything.
Yes.
We operate to pie, which brings us a loss, but it still brings big benefits to the community. So just got to bear those things in mind. It's not always
So what are you hearing?
What I've just noted down, and this was actually before Joseph spoke, so I can strengthen this. I've just said that the boards would be in support of option one to retain and change the operating model so that the council continues to influence parking prices and parking prices. Yes, I think that's what they've said there, and to revisit in the future when the rebuild of the city is complete, including the rebuild of the stadium.
Yeah.
And you've got the stadium in there.
Stadium and Parakiori.
And look, I'm probably further over, and that I see this as a community facility to assist the central city to remain vibrant. So if that's still the goal,
But yeah,
I don't think this is just a financial approach.
But the question.
but we would also want to acknowledge that selling this off would
It would
be
still
able
be
to
covered.
help
Yeah.
with them. What did you say earlier?
Yeah, it'll still be contributing.
But at this stage, probably it's
It's
too early.
Yeah.
So Faye,
On balance, the board supports, is that right?
Oh,
so Faye, at the end of
no,
that,
mainly, I think we support it retaining for 1 or 2 years longer.
So on balance, so
Yeah.
we've looked at the
Looked at
benefits
it.
of
Yeah.
selling it, but on balance, we don't think it's the right time.
Right time.
so Faye, at the end, when you're talking about retaining it for 2 more years, and then
Well, should I say 2 more years, or will I say, so what
18 to 2 years.
I'll take it, Faye.
I've got down here,
Over Helen.
I make it
until
Faye.
the rebuild and city
Yeah,
is
well,
more
it's
complete.
fully operational.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Fully
Yes.
operational.
including the stadium and Parakiori.
So what I was going to suggest is at the end of that.
Yeah.
Because, and then if you could add something along the lines like, because then we can see clear picture of the financial scenario, but some of you are saying regardless of the financial scenario, you want to keep it anyway. Is that correct? Yeah, but if it's running at a
I
loss,
think it's better.
Yeah, I do it.
but
Well,
what if it's
not
running?
running at a loss, but I guess in the future,
But-
we will have to invest, in terms of actually renewing the building and stuff. So we also need to bear that in mind. It's 1.5 million now. It will probably never be easier than now to sell it. I don't know who's going to buy it. Because if they wanted a $50 million car parking building, why not just pick one of the vacant sites that's already there and just build one yourself? And if it's so bad, who would actually buy it? And if we're saying that if we'd sell it and someone would turn it into not car parking,
Either no, if they can do
then is it
that.
actually the best use for it? Maybe we should sell it for 60 million or more. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know the answer to that because I don't have the information to know that. So all I can say from my perspective is I acknowledge that the top issue that residents have raised with me is rates and the rates increases. This being sold, assuming it can be sold and assuming it would be for 50 million, would probably achieve that for 1 year, probably maybe 0.5%. So for that 0.5%, what will we lose if it were sold? I don't know.
And the other thing from a human perspective, if you take mother and father and 2 or 3 children, it's absolutely ideal. You go down the car park through to Valentine's and through to other shops.
Good
But
remote for Valentine's, Helen.
you have to take it. Look, how would a mother, even a solo mother, say with 3 children, if she wants to shop in the city, how does she do that? So, I mean, I do think if we want the central city to be revitalised, I hope they haven't changed their mind on that. It was always a mantra. Yeah.
See, we haven't got
If you want
we haven't got the capacity readings from the other car parks either. So if the other car parks were at like maximum capacity, well, then there's a clear picture to retain. But if the other car parks are running at 40 to 50% capacity, well then.
Yeah, we need that figure.
But
I know, it's
that
fine.
would be for the decision makers, so it's
But that's what
not
I mean by a
us.
full business analysis, which is not available.
So can I just to contribute for everybody? So I just want to read what Sarah has sent me,
Oh,
and for everybody to whether to consider. No, it's just to me.
I thought she was
Just
sending
to,
it through.
and so I'm going to read it to everybody, just for consideration if we want to include something about it. And she says, I just want to emphasize the impact on rates on our community when considering this. I am highly in favor of reducing rates burden and would like this emphasized in the submission if there is an agreement.
Yeah.
So,
She had also sent a previous email on the 11th.
yeah, that was the initial one. This one she sent me last night.
And that's where I come to about, okay, so we've spoken about why we might think to retain it for a couple more years. But can we also speak about any feedback in regards to selling that? We see the advantages is a rates reduction. However, you need to weight that up with all other mitigating, or with all other factors.
Yep.
So that's if they decide to put it on debt recovery.
Yeah.
You see, we don't know what they would decide to do it for. And even if they sold it, like you said, after so many years, the new owner could knock it down and put units up and gain multi-millions of dollars and by putting up a 10-floor apartment
or offices.
and get $1 billion worth of property. So if that was ever going to happen, why aren't we doing that? To reduce debt, because if we're selling off something for 50 million and someone else is going to make, $1 billion. $1 billion in property, then why aren't we doing that in order to reduce the rates? So is that something that we could put as it under the cell, that if you're going to do it, then we need to be rest assured that we are concerned about the rates and that we are aware that if a new owner does buy it, then after a period of time they can do what they like with it. So if that's the case, then why aren't we doing that and make the $1 billion?
Probably can't actually.
Yeah.
So we would sell the building, but we would retain the land that would achieve that. So you would maybe do a leasehold.
So that's the one down the track?
I see.
Yeah.
Because our first feedback was to retain and change. And then when we review, then probably then sell but retain the land.
So that stops that provision of a developer coming along and but we could still do that.
We could do it.
Yeah.
We give
so-
out the choice to do it.
So is there a point where we can actually suggest that if you're by
They-
retaining the land, that gives us control of retaining it for car park, or if in the future we decide to develop it for debt recovery, that we may, depending on the outcome of the 2 years.
Yeah.
If we're finding that it's not viable after 2 years, then it might be a prudent business decision to build and.
I don't think we need to go that far. I mean, I don't think that's what they're consulting on, what we do.
No, I just want feedback.
They
And that's-
don't want to know what we want to do with the money, because I don't think they've even looked at that.
Well, they actually have, sorry, it's 5.4 in the report. So they have said, if the building only is sold, net present value turns negative around 25-year mark.
Yeah.
So it's quite a long way down the track.
Yeah.
So we would still be,
in 25 years.
so it's still a positive return until 25 years from now. So I don't know what assumption it's based on, because we don't have access to that.
This is why we.
But
need-
basically, it's not going to go bad on us for 25 years,
Oh.
is the way that I'm reading that.
No,
So
how we-
actually,
that's if you want to retain a cover. What I'm saying is once
that's
they,
if you retain the land.
Yeah.
That's if you sell the building only.
Building only and retain the land.
I think they're looking at this completely the wrong way. The 3% sounds okay to me if you're looking at it as a community facility. It's
Get more money in
if
the
you're looking
bank.
at it as a business, it's not.
They said it at the top of the report that
Yeah.
it is acceptable as in the policy. That's
Yes.
community
Council's investment
And act-
policy last year adopted
Yeah.
states that for non-strategic assets like the car park, the goal should be to achieve a commercial return. And that the 3% falls short of that. A commercial return is
So it's-
about 5 to.
For commercial return, it's not, but for the community.
Community, it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
And we used
It's
to.
still a profit.
But
No, it's
moving
not actually,
forward,
because we used to, and when I was on council, we operated with break even. So we had, it's a community facility, important for the central city, break even. It had to break even. It couldn't cost.
so just
council, yeah.
moving forward
I
now,
agree with that,
Helen,
so,
so if we mainly support the option 1 is to
Yes,
retain
yep.
and change.
Yep.
change the operational, whatever that was.
Model.
We
Operation
generally
And then until such time that, rebuild this.
Change the operation model so that the council continues to influence parking in the central city and to revisit the future of the parking building once the rebuild in the central city is complete, including the stadium and Parakiora. That's what I've got at the moment.
And then we were, yes,
So-
yes, Cody.
I would say the building and its use itself is probably not particularly strategic as a standalone building. It probably is. in
That's what
context
they
of the
said,
wider city.
yeah.
But the land itself is definitely strategic.
Yes,
And once
yes.
it's sold, I don't see any scenario, unless Christchurch is devastated, by
size 8.
1920s recession or something like that, that the value of it will go down. So almost certainly some sort of use that we would find for that in the future, I would think, even if it's, I don't know, MRT or something like that, it could be.
Or offices, if we chose.
But-
Yeah.
Maybe Faye also, we could add, should the council decide to sell, we would support retaining the land. Yes, should the council decide to sell, we would support retaining the land.
And
I mean, our board,
Yes.
please.
Do we want to put in brackets, e.g. for obviously under our control, under council's control for future prospects? Because that could be car park, it could be building apartments, it could be office blocks.
Yeah.
So if we can put in brackets, just what I've just mentioned then about
hold the land.
hold the land, because that
And put it's a
maintains-
caveat, I'm thinking of it.
maintains the control of the use, whether it's car park or
Yes, of use, yes.
And
They would-
it's allowing us to, when I say us, I mean council, it's allowing us to decide whether we want to go into property development and in order to, and we could even.
Council will go into property development.
No, yeah, that's
I don't think that's.
just the small brackets. We won't expand anymore.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Sorry, Debbie, what we're saying, I've got added in there, should the council decide to sell the asset, the board would support retention of the land
Yep.
to preserve future options.
Yep.
Future options / uses.
I think it could also be useful to say that we don't see it as a problem that the net present value becomes negative after 25 years. I think that's something that we can explicitly say that we're fine with, because the role of debt, right, is to distribute costs across the lifetime of an asset and to make sure that people who are using it in the future contribute as well as people who are using it now.
Yeah.
A 25-year time frame is actually fine for that, in my view. So I think we should say that we don't view it as a problem that if we sell the building only and keep the land, that it takes 25 years for a negative net present value.
That is, should the council decide to
Yeah.
sell.
Yeah.
Yes, but only if.
Yeah, sorry, Joseph, the board is not concerned that, what did you say, a negative
That the net present value will become negative after time passes.
Net present
net
value,
present value will become
negative.
negative
Because the
after.
value would have gone up by then. wouldn't
After
Yeah.
25 years, was it?
Yeah,
Yeah, after.
Or I guess may become, isn't it? Maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we don't know, but
Largely,
I think so.
with property
I mean,
price.
conspiracy.
Did council not get into
Unless
development?
there's a nuclear war.
Outline
Oh,
for
yes.
ages, Debbie says, yeah.
Yes.
Because why would the council not spend $50 million in order to make,
So
one
Debbie's raised a
building?
good point. So
Yeah.
internationally,
Yeah.
there are examples where we see that happen. So in Japan, for example, the metro company will actually buy out a bunch of properties, long strip, public works type thing, build it up,
Yeah.
and then that gives them a kind of captive audience to use that station and so on, helps fund the development of the station. So
And
I don't know if that could be the case for us. in
Or
the future. It
reduce,
could be.
or reduce rates. So
Or
what
that.
I'm, yeah, I'm just saying, and I'm not talking about now, I'm talking about years down the track, that if we wanted to reduce our debt, well, we couldn't develop that land.
We could, yeah.
In
But we can't
whatever.
sell it.
Exactly. So is there, well, we've outlined the reason we want to retain the land for future use and perhaps
City
do we add
development.
that for city
Yeah.
property development going forward in order to reduce rates?
I'd just say, I'd leave the rates out of it. I mean, I think just
That the council decide,
it's the worst thing to
should the
sell.
council decide to sell the asset, the board would support retention of the land to preserve future options and potential uses.
When you forward that to them,
Yep.
because this has been live streamed and locked in, are you able to attach the link to our
No.
meeting?
The final version, that's only a draft. She will circulate it to all of us
Yes.
to agree
Yeah,
that the final
yeah,
draft.
I know, but when it goes through,
No, I can't.
No,
No.
yeah. So, and then once we agree on the final draft, then I'll sign off on it and then we submit it. When is the submission due?
7th of December, so we've got, you know.
I'm just concerned that the majority of the community are absolutely crying out for rates reduction. And I'm hearing what everyone's saying today, which is great, to hold on to that land and for future use. But I really would like it stressed that whatever that future use may look like would be / could be property development in order to reduce rates. An option could be for property development or to reduce rates, dependent on the usage of the other car parks. If those other car parks are at capacity, we'd have to kind of leave it. But if the other car parks are only operating at 50, 40, 50%, then you're in a probable position. And we're talking years down the track, dependent on the outcome of what's happening with Central City. Anyway, we're not talking about right here and now.
So probably down the track, it will come back to,
It'll
Yeah.
come back to
come
council.
back to the public.
If I may,
Be in fact a different council.
perhaps,
Okay, Joseph.
perhaps we should say that we think that there's a higher opportunity cost in selling now for rates reduction than retaining it and selling
Well,
later.
that's what I said when you weren't here,
I think-
because, and what I had said, Joseph, was, because I've done business analysis, you may have as well, that it weighs up the pros and cons of everything, and then it gives a summary of, the pros and cons, and that selling it for 50 million now could absolutely outweigh, the benefits of retaining it. Absolutely, but we haven't got that analysis in order to give that feedback. But I hear exactly what you're saying, because time value of money, for instance, which we all understand, the interest costs, maintenance costs, all these other costs involved. So it could be, once a business analysis is done, it could be more viable to sell it off, like you were just saying, but we don't have that
Information.
in front of us. Because I always know when I paid off my mortgage in 17 years, I thought, I could always plug away at it and pay it off over 25 years, but I saw the advantage of paying it off quicker and quicker by putting little bits of money on. So my point is that I saw the value in doing that so that I could reduce that debt. And I hear that that's exactly what you're trying to say, is that can contribute. But once again, we haven't been told that if we were to sell it, what the anticipation would be of where that money would go. Would it go on debt recovery, or would it go further out into the community in some means? We haven't had that direction.
Right, okay, thank you. So, can you just, clarify if I'm hearing correctly? The three of you are sell now? Is that what you're,
What?
No.
no?
You're right there.
No, arrive at that.
Okay, no, that's what I'm asking. That's why I'm saying, if that's no, so that's not a sell now, so it's
With
still,
what we had.
yeah.
Which is option one.
Yeah.
With the kind of in the meantime rider.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And we're making comments about
Selling.
Because we've been
in
going,
case it goes that way.
yeah, because we've been going around and around, so it gets muddled up, so that's why I need the
Yeah.
clarification. What is it right now that we are wanting? So we are option one, retain and then change, and then,
Retain and change, it was 18 or 24 months.
yes, until such time
Yeah.
that it's all fully operational, the rebuild.
But if
and
they
then-
decide to sell
And then
it,
should the
keep it
council decide to sell, then
Right.
retain the land?
That's right.
And anything further than that? Oh,
Yeah,
I
think
think up to that
Yeah,
point.
she's got that in brackets, that's the
Right.
reasoning for retaining the
Yeah,
land. is
Because
the
it gets confusing already when we talk around in circles.
is the future use, which is what Joseph also highlighted, that it could be absolutely much more viable. So the council decision may not be to hold it for 2 more years. They may decide to sell it now because they may have information we don't
Yes.
have at present. So they already do have information that we don't have at present.
Yeah.
And so they will be making that decision. So if we can say,
In the bulk.
And
amount of
if they
sentence,
do
it's made
decide-
based
And
on-
that's what we said, that should they decide to sell, we will support the retention of the land.
that again, what we put under the cell,
That's it.
if they decide to sell.
Okay, so I put, we can play with this.
Yeah, of course.
I've put, should the council decide to sell the asset, the board would support retention of the land to preserve future options and potential uses. The board is not concerned that the present value may become negative after a period of time, approximately 25.
After that uses, with agreement of the board, do we want to elaborate and say, meaning rates reduction or ways in which to create rates reduction?
But that's too far ahead. It's 25 years ahead.
It's not, they might
No,
sell,
yeah.
they might decide
I
in
think,
3 months'
yeah.
time to sell it, Helen.
And
No,
that's,
but if they sell
that
it.
should
But
council
we're saying-
decide to sell.
So we're saying support retention of the land to preserve future options and potential uses.
In which to reduce rates.
But you don't need to put that in. I don't think we should.
No, well, this is what I'm taking on board from Sarah's email.
Oh, but we
The
can't,
prob-
that's one person, don't
Yeah,
we?
but we are also.
That's why we're here to
I know.
agree on that.
We're all saying that.
But I don't agree with that actually,
Well,
because we're not,
The
You
majority,
don't agree with getting.
I don't agree with if they decide to sell at this point. It's,
Well, none of us are saying.
no,
sell
but
it.
we're saying that if
Well,
they
if
do
they agree-
decide.
if
oh,
they-
to sell, but it could be 25 years out.
No, no, they could decide now to sell
Oh,
it.
yes.
Helen, because as you know, they have information we don't. So
No,
if they decide to,
They've got the valuations.
Yeah,
so
but we don't know. The
that's-
valuation could be 200 million.
So-
I mean, it would definitely make
Yeah,
sense to
we
sell.
haven't got it.
So my point is they may decide to sell, and what we're saying is if they decide to sell, Helen, that we
What
would
should they
like,
consider?
yeah, what-
So it's
But
about-
the trouble is,
Hang on,
The reason I'm
can we
against
let,
that
Faye?
But the reason I'm against that is it gives them the option. I know being at council, you put something, you don't mean to do that, it's just helpful that they take that as they grasp it.
Let's listen first what Faye has
I wouldn't say
has
it actually.
written.
So I was just going to add, so we put on there that if the council decides to sell the asset, board supports protection of the land, to preserve future options and potential uses, and opportunities to reduce rates.
Yep,
That's fine.
I'm not happy with that.
well,
What's
because
the issue with it?
Because you're giving them something which,
there's 5 of us that agreed.
well, 4.
No, 5. Sarah has
Sarah-
suggested that.
But you understand what I'm saying? You give it, it's nice to say it and it doesn't matter. In one sense, it doesn't
It's
matter.
just feedback,
But
Helen.
it gives people the option who are trying to sell it.
Mhm.
And they're saying, well, here's one board saying, Halswell-Hornby-Riccarton saying,
it's
they
just an
don't mind,
option.
if we sell it, they want to put it to rate reduction.
We are just saying, given
It's
that,
just a
given that
suggestion.
they have information.
I wouldn't give it up to them.
Helen, what we're saying is, given we don't have all the information and they do, well, we're just saying our feedback. It's not a decision. It's not a, I tell you, it's just feedback, Helen.
Well, certainly not, it's not my, I wouldn't give it to them.
Okay, well,
actually.
you've made that clear. and
Well,
it is-
as long as you're clear that you're giving them a path, which.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
please.
Consider it.
Yeah.
And we can.
Absolutely.
Consider.
Okay, Cody,
Yeah, I would just say as well, Helen, bear in mind that at the time when they asked for this report to be produced, I understand that it passed 10-6. So it wasn't even like it was close. So if it was 10-6 again, that could be in favour of selling. So it's important that we say if they do sell,
Yeah.
because of its strategic nature, that we want to retain that land. If we don't say that, staff are actually recommending we don't keep it because of 25 years down the track that it's going to be negative.
No,
I would say even
we
10
keep
years from now,
in the
we'd
meantime.
definitely be looking at it again and going, do we still actually need a car park there?
Yeah.
It could have changed completely.
In 5
Maybe
years.
all the
the change,
houses are
yeah.
built with no car parks
Hmm.
and everyone just rents a space from there because of Williams Corp or something. that might be fine. That might be the use case. And it might be highly profitable for us. And we'll be grateful that we retain the land or not.
But I'm happy.
And we might just go knock it
happy
down.
to-
But we don't know. It's so far out.
I mean, depends how close you're thinking. If you're deciding now, you'd rather go with rate reduction. If they want.
We're not saying that. We're saying our preference is that we keep it for at least
That's right,
24 months to
But
reset.
if they just, but aren't we saying if you decide to sell
If
as a
they-
council,
Well, they may decide to sell.
we'd rather it went to rate reduction rather than another
No.
parking building.
No, I
right?
haven't said that.
No,
We've said that we would
No,
rather
except
retain
there
the
are
land
options.
for a few
No, that was
years.
under option, that was under the sell.
Yeah.
So under
Yeah.
the sell, if the council decided with all their information they have, and we don't have all the information, if they decide to
Yeah.
sell now,
Yes.
given their information that they have, then this is our preference, that we want it for rate reduction or future use of development in order for rates reduction. That's a priority for not just us, but the majority of the community are after rates reduction.
Yep.
But this is only if the council
Yes, I know.
decide to sell, that. we're
But I'm
just giving
saying
that
you're
feedback.
giving them something and one of them will grasp it. And
If we don't say it, somebody else will say it.
We're
so be it.
saying to preserve future options and potential uses and to support and opportunities to reduce.
Absolutely,
rates. So
perfect,
that's one of the list
Yeah.
of things.
perfect. Perfect, well, you've gone and, which is good, it's not and or, it's and. So, I think that that's been expressed across the board, that
Mm.
that's the option that we wish to feedback under the sell, if they decide to sell.
But why, well, I'm saying why give it to them?
Yeah.
It allows, there must be a group
They're
that wants it.
asking for feedback.
Well, there is a group that wants it
Yeah,
sold
there is.
because they voted 10-6 to get the report.
Yes, I
I
know.
would say.
Yes, I
So
know.
if we don't say something,
That's
then they will
right.
consider nothing from us. They'll consider that we had no opinion. We've been quite clear.
Yeah.
Well, I
But
think
it's
that,
not
I
our
know that
But
Phil
it's my
has
favourite
said he
thing.
wants to take the art, he wants to take the parking
But we're also,
Now-
it's,
to the arts
consider
centre,
that.
arts area.
but
It's outside the
there's a lot
scope.
of people that don't put in submissions.
Yeah.
Or because they believe it's all a fait accompli, they think they're not heard or listened
Yes, I
to.
know.
And so what we're doing as a general
Mm.
is
We're
that
at-
we
Perfect,
hear,
perfect.
we have the feedback from our community through our own discussions. And we all know that they want rates reductions. But this is only if they decide to sell
Yes, I
now,
know that.
and we've given them the feedback pertaining to
Well, I
that.
think the only thing I can accept on that is if you put something like, if you decide to sell, we believe the public would like to have a rates reduction.
Well, of course.
Yes.
That's what we.
I mean,
say.
yeah, well, as long as you put in, we believe feedback from the public would indicate rates reductions.
Right, well, anyway,
Yeah.
you're writing that up. Thank
Right,
you.
right.
So I've got, the board has agreed that Board of Guys will write up
Yeah.
submission and circulate for comment.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
perfect. Thank you so much.
Right, so, all done?
All done? Yep.
Great,
Thank you.
within 1 hour. Lovely, thank you.
Sorry for the lies.
Yes.
I didn't realise the report was so long. When I